What's up, Star Wars fans? Today I want to review Episode 5 of the Ahsoka series. And the 5th episode of the Ahsoka series went to some incredible places. But before we get to that, just let me say that the episode title was Shadow Warrior, and the episode synopsis reads, Ahsoka confronts her past, while Hera and her allies undertake a rescue mission. And I gotta say, when I read that synopsis the first time, I thought that Hera was going to be the one with Jacen finding a way to go to the far-off galaxy of Peridia. But as we find out very early on in this episode, it's Hera, Jacen, and Chopper, as well as Carson Teva and some other X-Wing pilots, attempting to track down Ahsoka and Sabine on the planet. And from here we transition to seeing Ahsoka and Anakin Skywalker, and as we speculated, Anakin has one last lesson for his Padawan. In fact, he pulls out his lightsaber and begins to duel Ahsoka. And in what I thought was a very interesting moment, Jacen Syndulla can actually hear the lightsaber battle happening between Anakin and Ahsoka, which leads to Hera and the other X-Wing pilots sweeping the ocean trying to find Ahsoka Tano. Meanwhile, during her Force vision, Ahsoka Tano is brought back in time to re-experience one of her first battles during the Clone Wars on Ryloth. And I gotta say, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker looked absolutely perfect. Seeing that live-action version of Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars series was absolutely amazing. However, what I didn't find amazing was the young Ahsoka Tano. Please feel free to disagree with me, but I was not impressed with the young Ahsoka. I mean, don't get me wrong, everything else in those flashbacks looked absolutely amazing. We got Captain Rex, voiced of course by Tamora Morrison. We got live action Clone Wars Season 7 with the attack on Mandalore. And although I didn't like the look of the young Ahsoka Tano, she did absolutely kick ass in that duel versus Anakin Skywalker on Mandalore. Come to think of it, she kicked ass in that entire Mandalore flashback. And honestly, that's probably why she was selected by Dave Filoni to play Ahsoka in this role. Not so much because she resembled a young Ahsoka, but because she had the skills for this young Ahsoka role. But getting back to the story here, Ahsoka and Anakin wind up back in the world between worlds, and at this point, Anakin is wielding a red lightsaber and has crazy Sith eyes. Ahsoka seems to be able to get the better of Anakin once again, and just as it seems like she's going to kill that Sith version of Anakin, she chooses to let Anakin live, and she says the line, "I choose to live." And this is such a great Jedi moment, because I believe Ahsoka is not just choosing to live, but choosing to live a life where she lets go of what happened to her former master, Anakin Skywalker. She chooses to live a life where she lets go of that guilt surrounding the fall of Anakin Skywalker to the dark side, which is exactly why Anakin Skywalker replies by saying, "There's hope for you yet." Now, unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to miss the beauty of this moment, and they're going to get caught up in silly debates about whether Anakin Skywalker is stronger than Ahsoka Tano. As again, Ahsoka seems to get the better of Anakin twice during her Force visions. But I think if you're taking part in that debate, you're missing the point that Dave Filoni is trying to get across, and that is that it's of the utmost importance that Ahsoka lets go of the guilt surrounding her master. But getting back to the story, we transition from Ahsoka's Force vision to her rescue in the ocean, and as Ahsoka wakes up the next day, we see that she's wearing white robes, looking very much like the Ahsoka the White we see at the end of the Star Wars Rebels epilogue. And certainly the character seems more lighthearted, more of that Ahsoka Tano that we saw in her younger years before the fall of her master Anakin Skywalker. And so Ahsoka and Hera determine that Sabine actually joined the villains in hopes of tracking down her lost brother Ezra Bridger. And in a moment where we really see that the hope has returned to the character of Ahsoka, she befriends one of the Purrgil and hopes that it can take them to Peridia, the far-off galaxy where Sabine and the villains have traveled to try and track down Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. And I really thought the special effects in this episode were absolutely amazing. The ships, the Purrgil, it all looked so convincing. And overall, I was a little surprised that Dave Filoni used the Purrgil so much in this episode, but it totally makes sense for the character of Ahsoka, and her trusting the Purrgil shows that her hope has returned and that she has grown as a character. But hey, Star Wars fans, that's all the time I have for my review. Let me know what you thought about all this in the comments below. And as always, I'm Mike, and remember, the Force will be with you always.